Now, photographer Roger Bamber started his career in the 1960s, taking his student portfolio to Fleet Street and getting a job on the spot. In the decades that followed, he snapped a host of famous names, but also plenty of ordinary people. Roger died 6 months ago, aged 78, and now an exhibition of his pictures has opened in Sussex. Sarah Smith reports.
From the black and white images of his early career to exuberant celebrations of life in this corner of Sussex, Roger Bamber's photographs of famous faces appear alongside those who found themselves unwittingly in the news. A barrister is led from the Old Bailey after an IRA bomb. A police officer mourns the loss of a colleague in the line of duty. When he went to take a picture of Cecil Beaton, the famous society photographer turned the lens back on a young Roger, and it was his youth which won him some of his most glamorous assignments.
There's a starman waiting in the sky.
All these old boys in the newspaper said, you can go off and do these noisy modern bands. So he got in on the very early days with them, which meant that he made friends with them before they were terribly famous and ended up going touring, which was fun.
Years later at Live Aid, he produced one of the most enduring images of that day. But back in the studio, he always would find a way to get the right shot.
Well, Roger didn't have a smoke machine, but if you were doing rock and pop in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you had to have smoke. So he struck very early on the device of getting the roadies to smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes at once. This picture is normally shown cropped, like that, but we left it uncropped so that we could demonstrate Roger's homemade smoke machine.
Well, if it's the images of rock stars which first grab your attention, come into this room and it soon becomes clear that Roger was just as inspired, perhaps more so, by the people and the scenes right on his doorstep. He somehow made the demise of the West Pier beautiful, if heartbreaking, and while it's perhaps no surprise that the Brighton Festival inspired him, he could also turn a commission from the bus company into a work of art, as he did with his lifelong passion for the railway. All of it on show here at the Brighton Museum and Art Gallery.
Well, I think he always looked for a story, and he was really interested in people, I think, more than anything. And some of his photographs, he's just taken them with people that he's passed. They've been doing something interesting. And I think nobody ever said no.
This is the last picture of Roger before his death in September. He'd known about the exhibition. It was to be based on a book he'd just finished.
He wanted to show that he wasn't just a press photographer who took news images. He was somebody who made ordinary things extraordinary.
Sarah Smith, BBC News.
Time to catch up on the weather now.